Good boy, Hannibal. Good boy, Hannibal. Out! No, out! Good boy. Good boy. Get out. Good boy. Good boy. That's the boy, Bear. That's the boy, Bear. Good boy. Good boy, Bear. All right, come in and move him this way. Yep. Good boy, Bear. Good boy, Bear. Good boy. Good boy, Bear. Good boy, Bear. Go the other way. There you go, right there. Good boy, Bear. Good boy. Good boy, Bear.
A bit about yourself as a breeder of the American Bulldog.
Well, we started researching back in 1978. Found a pocket of breeders in the southeast, mainly in the northeast of Alabama and northwest of Georgia. Picked up a couple dogs, started breeding them, and wasn't real happy with the results of that particular strain, and then decided to start doing it on a bigger scale. Purchased dogs, buying entire litters of dogs and selecting dogs out of the litter. I'd say over a 6-year period, we purchased a little over 100 dogs to form our breeding program. We used 13 of those 100 in our breeding program. Some of the others went on and were used in other kennels as foundation stock for their kennels. The main lines that we used were the Masher lines and some Big Joe dogs and some of the old Johnson Dick the Bruiser dogs crossed in as well. We've been breeding for family type situation, home protection, personal protection, and a lot of people have bought some dogs to use for some of the canine sports such as Schutzhund and KNPV.
I'm Neil Albert from New Jersey, and this is Corazon, a 2-year-old American Bulldog, and he has his brevet in ring sport. He is the first American Bulldog ever in the world to be titled in ring sport.
Some judges blow a horn and some judges don't. There's no good.
Controversy there as far as where the American Bulldog came from. You'll talk to many breeders and they'll tell you it was the original Bulldog brought over from England in the 16 and 1700s and has maintained pure form since. I believe it's more, there was some Bulldogs brought over. The English brought their dogs everywhere they went. So naturally they brought some of the early type large Bulldogs to this country. But through the years, they've been used for different functions such as catching cattle and boar hunting and farm utility type jobs. And for practical purposes, I think they bred them with other farm type dogs such as Catahoulas through the years. And the American Bulldog is a bit of a blend, but still a purebred dog.
That was a good spin. That's enough.
Mainly what we're looking at in an American Bulldog is we want a performance breed. No matter what, we want it to be a performance-oriented breed. So some of the requirements in the standard are things such as angulation of the stifles. A straight stifle dog would be a pretty serious fault for a performance breed, as would shoulders sticking out or an oversized head. The American Bulldog should not have a head like an English Bulldog. That would prohibit it from working. Another key characteristic in the standard would be the underbite. A dog with too serious an underbite isn't able to function. The only size limitation might be we set a size limitation at 125 pounds for a male. There are dogs that are bigger. Most of them fall much smaller than that. But there is no limit on height as long as the dog is of performance type.
Odin up! Good boy, get the ball. down.
What type of environment does the breed need? Does it function well in?
I'd say the Bulldog is best as a family dog, raised as part of the family. They're not a real good kennel dog. You're not going to get the best disposition out of them, like some of the other canid type breeds can survive in that atmosphere much better than American Bulldog. Your American Bulldog should be part of the family and have a little job to do, whether it be just an exercising job or jogging with somebody. As long as they're involved, they're a happy dog. They don't take well to just being kenneled and crated. And
Bye now.
well, being a short-haired breed, you don't have that much brushing to do. Even bathing, you're looking at no more than once a month. My dogs usually bathe every 3 months or so. Their coat requirements don't require any special oils or anything like that. They're a pretty healthy dog with their coats. The American Bulldog's pretty much going to be a muscular breed no matter what you do with it. If they're sitting around at home, some of them look just as good as dogs that are worked hard. They do act better if they're exercised a bit. Just normal dog games. They love sports and tug-of-war games and weight pulling and anything like that. They'll thrive much better with that type of activity.
Get out of here!
To a situation, not create a situation. They're usually excellent with children and other small animals. With other dogs, they tend to be dominant. They're always going to be dominant no matter what the breed is. So that's something you want to consider when purchasing an American Bulldog. They're a very capable dog, being of boar hunting descent and this and that. They are capable of doing harm to another dog in the wrong situation. So you have to raise your dog right and teach him when to react to things like that. They do get along with other family pets. It's pets outside the family that can be in danger.
What are some of the inherent health problems of the breed?
Well, the strain we're presently working with, we don't really have too many problems. Probably the most major things you would see would be entropia of the eyes, like you'll see that with some of the other bull strains, bulldog strains. I'm not sure why, but as far as lameness goes, it's pretty much nil in the breed. Laming defects such as ankylosing process and hip dysplasia aren't much of a problem, and I think a lot of that is attributed to the dog's pain tolerance and their muscle development. Even if there is a problem there, someone could probably own an American Bulldog for 12 years and never know they have a problem until they get very old. Well, one rule of thumb I have in purchasing an American Bulldog is try to buy from a kennel that is breeding American Bulldogs and bettering the American Bulldog, not just producing for a living. There are a lot of professional breeders out there who breed, and their sole income is based on how many Bulldogs they sell. Their motivation may be a little bit too money-oriented, and they're not going to be that honest with you. You're better off finding someone who's working the Bulldogs and doing what you want with the Bulldog. If you're looking for a family pet, with a little bit of protection work, we'll go to a breeder who's breeding for that. If you're looking for a weight bulldog, go to a breeder who's pulling dogs and is breeding for what you're looking for. When selecting puppies, just try not to pick oversized puppies. try to look for physical flaws such as elbows sticking out too far and the straight stifles. Try to select a puppy that's amiable and affectionate rather than the type that stays back in the pack and hides a little bit. And you probably don't want the type that comes racing forward, jumping all over you either.
I've seen and heard about different lines of American Bulldogs with names attached to these lines such as Johnson, Painter, Scott, etc. Can you tell us about the different names attached to these lines of American Bulldogs?
Okay, well, you have different types of American Bulldog. The original Johnson type American Bulldog was a smaller line of dog used mainly for cattle driving. A big male would weigh 85 pounds. Then you had the Scott lines, and there were several of those. He used some of the old Johnson lines. He also had the bigger dogs, the masher lines, which were dogs of 95 to 105 or better, that were used for a little bit heavier performance type jobs, such as boar hunting and such. And then Alan Scott also had some other lines that were almost Great Daney or Houndy in appearance. Some of the Big Joe dogs were excellent running dogs, big in bone, not as heavy in muscle as the masher dogs. A good active type dog, but a little houndy in appearance. The Johnson Bulldog then kind of evolved through crosses with English Bulldogs into its present day form, which is more or less a longer-legged English Bulldog. The Painter, Margentina lines of dogs are all based on the Johnson Dick the Bruiser crosses with the Williamson Big Joe, which is a Scott line of dog. And they produce dogs anywhere from 75 to 90 pounds. Generally a healthier dog than the Johnson dog, and a popular cross with the Johnson dogs. We didn't have great success crossing those two because there were inherent problems on both sides. In our first generation, we did improve a little bit, but breeding on after that seemed to bring on the characteristics of both lines and had just the same problems we did before. The masher dogs tend to breed a little bit cleaner, straighter legged with less joint problems, and tend to have a more working type disposition or farm utility type disposition than some of the other strains did. The present day Painter dogs, there really isn't any Painter line. He had them for such a short time and did a lot of sales, but he was mainly peddling Johnson Dick the Bruiser cross with Williamson Big Joe. There wasn't an established bloodline there.
Good boy.
Differences between the male and female breed besides the obvious?
Well, I think like most other breeds, the obvious being the female's about 20% smaller in American Bulldogs, as a rule. The dispositions, I think the males have a more clownish disposition than the females. They tend to be a little bit more serious. As far as working capabilities, I don't think there are any. Maybe the female might be a little bit easier, being that it's more serious in nature. The males tend to be, like I said, a little bit more clownish, maybe a little bit more stubborn. Should be a relatively easy dog to train. Like a lot of other bull breeds, they do have a stubborn side to them. You have to make things somewhat fun for them. I don't believe it's a breed that everybody should have to go out and be professionally trained. That's not what we're looking for. They're very, very eager to please breed, and that makes them easy to train.
Good boy, Hannibal. Good boy. Get him, Hannibal. Good boy.
I think the American Bulldog is an excellent protection dog. It's a friendly dog with strangers and very confident dog. It's not an overly nervous animal, and therefore you can have it with you at all times in a car situation or at parks or parades or whatever, and they're going to react to a situation. If the people are amiable and friendly with the dog and you, the dog is going to react friendly back to them. If the people seem to be menacing or a threat in any way, well, then they're going to get a reaction from the dog. And just the appearance of the dog, it's a muscle. It looks like an offensive guard in the National Football League. It scares people. I don't think, I know myself, I wouldn't challenge one. So there's probably not too many people out there that would. That makes them a good protection dog. The fact that they're athletic makes them a good protection dog. It's, and as far as sport protection, that's pretty much up to the trainer. I think the dogs have unlimited capabilities.
Go. On attack. Good boy. Come on. Odin, come. Come on. That a boy.
Buyer requirements. What do you require of a buyer that wishes to purchase a dog from you?
The main requirement is just to know what they're owning here. The American Bulldog's probably not a good dog for a first-time buyer who's never owned a dog before. They do have some physical capabilities that can, in certain situations, can be dangerous. American Bulldog's not a dog you want running loose in a neighborhood. Not that they're aggressive, overly aggressive, and are going to seek out trouble, but at some point, somebody's going to challenge them as far as another dog, and then you've got a mistake happening here. What I require of the people who purchase dogs, they do have an understanding of what the dog is capable of doing and what they're going to do to make sure it doesn't happen. A lot of political stuff going on with the breed, like every breed has it. There's a power struggle right now with the breed. There's certain factions that believe the breed should be this, certain factions that believe the breed should be that, and there's good breeders on both sides. Unfortunately, because of the politics, a lot of these breeders don't get in contact with one another, and the breed is hurt by not enough people joining forces to produce better dogs. One thing we have with the registration we're working with right now, which is the National American Bulldog Association, is a code of ethics that breeders cannot slander one another and spread ill will around, because it's detrimental to the breed and the breeders involved.
Hit low. I got him. Good girl, Rose. Good girl, Rose. Hold it. Good girl, Rose. Good girl, Rose. Good girl. That's a good girl. Good girl. Go ahead. Good boy, Hannibal. Good boy, Hannibal. Good boy, Hannibal. Get him off me! Good boy, Hannibal. Get him off! Good boy, Hannibal. Good boy, Hannibal. Out! No! Out! Good boy. Good boy. Good boy, Hannibal. Good boy, Hannibal. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy, Hannibal. Good boy, Hannibal. Good boy, Hannibal. Good boy, Hannibal. Good boy. Good boy. We're taking it right after this out.
Try to get him low on my leg.
Good boy. Good boy.
I'll try to wiggle my leg.
Good boy. Good boy.
Okay.
Good boy. Good boy. Out! Good boy.
We'd like to thank Rick Werby, Keith O'Sullivan, and Ray Martin of Stonewall's American Bulldogs for their help in this breed segment. The breeds featured in this program are titled in dog sport activity, such as Schutzhund, French or Belgian ring sport, etc. This is not the same as personal protection or police training. However, many of the dogs shown in the program could be cross-trained to work as police or personal protection dogs, as well as excelling at the various dog sports. Naturally, the same physical and mental characteristics displayed by a dog participating in dog sport is the same type of characteristic we can treasure in a pure police or personal protection dog. In many ways, dog sport training is actually more demanding than the training of a pure personal protection or police dog.